Oh, we're back, people. Oh, man. Only took us a month to get here, but the Ryan Gosling Hall of Fame, the next installment in the Actors Hall of Fame. I know I spoiled it, Dustin. I know that's usually your bit, but I mean, come on. It's Gosling, dude. I mean, one of the best, if not the best, when it comes to being just a movie star, you know?
I love him, man.
Who doesn't?
We're
Literally,
gonna
who
get it.
doesn't?
We're gonna get into it.
We are going to get into it, indeed. On tonight's episode of the Talk TV podcast, Actors Hall of Fame, Ryan Gosling edition. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
All right, Dustin. Unfortunately, we were unable to do Sandler last month. I know, I promised you, but we're gonna do him in December. I know I've withheld on him because of all the actors on my Hall of Fame movies to catch up on. I think he's the one that I've got the most amount.
His movies aren't even that long, Dominic.
I know.
The Wedding Singer.
I know. Listen, I've seen. Oh no, I haven't seen The Wedding Singer. It's The Waterboy that I've seen parts of. It's so embarrassing. Listen, I'm going to stop talking before I get myself into more trouble. But we're here to talk about Ryan Gosling. The Fall Guy came out this month. We are still technically in the month of May. We have one day left before we get into June in this wacky, crazy, nonsensical summer. But Dustin, before we get into it, how you been, man? I haven't talked to you in a minute.
Terrible, the same. Let's move on from that.
Oh man, this summer has just been the worst, right? I mean,
it's like, if we're talking movie wise, definitely. If we're talking my life, same as usual, but like kind of worse. But like, let's move on.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling, we're here to talk about it. I mean, dude, he's one of my favorite. It's so funny because like when I think about Gosling, I keep forgetting that like, wow, I only really saw a bulk of these movies in like the last 10 like couple of years or so. Like it's kind of insane. Like he's had a pretty solid 2 almost 3 decade long career now, right?
Yeah, really you jumped on the train a little late.
Little late. I really didn't catch up on it. I feel like it wasn't until 2016 with the Nice Guys La La Land double feature. That's when it really started to pick up. And that's when I'm like, oh, this guy's one of the all-time greats. One of the all-time greats. Like just somebody. It's so funny because I've talked all the time about the difference between what it takes to be a great actor versus what it takes to be a great movie star. And it's very rare that you're able to cross the gamut between both. And he is one of the few, if not the absolute best at doing it. Just somebody who understands the assignment every single time. Like even in some, and again, you've seen more movies of his than me. And and of the few
he doesn't have an enormous amount. I probably haven't seen like 8 to 10 of his movies, like where he's like either the star or the supporting player, but I've seen a good amount of them. I've seen 20 of them.
Yeah, I of the relatively few bad movies that he's been in, I wouldn't say that any of the ones that I've seen are objectively bad. He's always consistently the best part about them.
Not only that, clunkers, no.
Yeah, but even more like he goes so far above just being like scene stealing or the best part of everything that he's in. It's just like, there's just something about him that is just magnanimously like
likable.
Yes, likable and intriguing. Like he's even able to make something like consistently like not only just steal the like something like Barbie, but literally be like kind of the one that the movie revolves around. Like Margot Robbie kind of isn't even like.
Oh, we'll get into the performances. Yeah, but I just want to talk about like his like overall depth and like charm and like appeal as an actor is like. And I bring this up a lot. You might roll your eyes at it. It's fine. If an actor can really host SNL so well where you're like, this guy should host every year, or he should have been a cast member. You know what I mean? Like him or Adam Driver, for instance. It's like, it's somebody like that who's just so fucking good. It's a shame that Adam Driver hasn't had the career that Ryan Gosling has, even despite the Oscar nominations. I don't think he's had the as much success personally. But I haven't enjoyed his career as much as I've enjoyed Ryan's career. I think Ryan he can play anything. I feel like at this point, I really.
Oh yeah.
I don't have false confidence about him as a performer. The only performance of his that I really just feel like he phoned in was Only God Forgives. He probably would disagree with me. I think that movie's a fucking like almost atrocity and just an awful follow up to a near masterpiece that we'll talk about later. But like Yeah, I really think he's terrific in all these movies, and even the earlier films like The Believer, where he's like a white supremacist Jew, and in Murder by Numbers, where he's like a psychopath
That's how you know he was meant to be a star. A white
Yeah.
supremacist Jew. He was born to be a star.
Yeah, and he could play, and he was cast in Murder by Numbers, which is an okay movie, but it's elevated by him and playing the more psychotic one opposite Michael Pitt. So that's like the guy has range.
Hold on, what?
Yeah, I know. It's fucking like he's fucking good. And like there's this other movie that just missed the list, United States of Leland. He's terrific in that movie. Terrific cast. Chris Klein.
Chris Klein.
Yeah. Great cast. Kevin Spacey, Don Cheadle, Michelle Williams. Great. He was talented from a young age. He was in the Mickey Mouse Club.
Yep.
Yes,
he was.
When he started to shine, and this is kind of segueing into our top in our lists or whatever, but even though the Ides of March really is the big honorable mention other than United States of Leland for me, because that was in 2011, Dominic.
Oh shit. The year
of Gosling.
Yep. The year. We've talked about this many times.
It's the year of that was the year where I finally noticed, fuck, this guy is
guy's good.
This
guy's good. This guy's got something.
This guy
I don't know what it is.
So good, and it was just the back to back.
Yeah. Just so run it back. Ides of March, Crazy Stupid Love.
No, you're getting it backwards. Yeah, you're getting it backwards. But it's Crazy Stupid Love, Drive, then Ides of March and Drive, whatever. Those
around the same time. Yeah.
Drive was really the kicker, though.
Yeah. 3 completely different and distinctly unique performances that really just go to show his range.
Yes.
Really. And this is, I mean, the thing that I always go back to that baffles me, I mean, he hadn't really blown up by this point yet, but the back-to-back of, again, at my age, 26, gonna be 27 this year, he gets an Oscar nomination for Half Nelson only 2 years after he'd been marked as the rom-com guy with The Notebook, right? Which I would even say kind of goes a little bit far above and beyond typical rom-com standards. I still never
saw it. That's the one blind spot that I would say, like, oh, that's egregious, Dustin. How have you never seen The Notebook? I've never had a girlfriend to bother me about it. That's why I'm a loser. How do you not get that, people? But, like, The Notebook, I'll eventually get to it. You're saying it's a rom-com? What? Isn't that it's like a tragedy.
It is a tragedy, but like it's a romance movie. You know, I don't know. I use that term as like a blanket term for like all romantic movies. I know they're not technically comedies. I need to retrofit and change my dialogue when it comes to describing movies. But and then 1 year later with Lars and the Real Girl, like that level of range at that young of an age
definitely
is usually like it usually takes a lot of actors like some years to get to that level of range, and the fact that he had it that young.
Yeah, we covered Gyllenhaal, and I would say him and definitely, especially Ryan Gosling, are on that level of like Leo and Brad of like the next. They're the next up after Leo and Brad, like eventually.
For sure, for sure.
But still, but like they're
also the same age. The exact same age too. Born, I believe, within a month of each other too. Like they're very close birthday wise. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and Gosling is not a nepo baby, right? If I'm not
no, he is not.
So that makes him even more impressive.
There you go.
There you go.
It doesn't matter. Before we get started, I just wanted to throw up. Eli already commented. He's like, Barbie is Gosling's greatest performance, and I will not be accepting any other opinion. It's not this greatest, but I can.
No.
We'll
talk about it.
We'll talk about it for sure.
Featured.
Yep. So with that being said, I just wanted to rattle off some of my honorable mentions. I have First Man, La La Land, Blade Runner 2049, The Gray Man, and Remember the Titans for my honorable mention. Again, Remember the Titans.
The Gray Man, like, was such a mediocre movie that he's still charming it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Like, him and Chris Evans, I'm like, you got those two in the movie, and they're both like a charm off, like, one-liner contest. Like, what more did you want from that movie?
Like even in Blade Runner, like, Blade Runner's not in my top 10, but, like, he's not an actor that, like, you need to like put in an action franchise,
right?
You know what I mean? Like he's so much more than that. Like he's not. He doesn't have to be Ryan Reynolds. He's Ryan Gosling.
Yes.
But we'll talk about the Fall Guy in a second.
Oh, we will. We will. Indeed. All right, Dustin.
Yeah.
Kick us off. What's your number 10?
Oh well, it's La La Land.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think that. Yeah, I think.
I mean, it's not crazy, but like...
No, it's not. But I think it's a performance that deserves to be highlighted. But I don't think it's one of his very, very best. But it proves why he is A, a movie star, and B, can do any kind of role, and C, can sing. Yeah.
He can sing. We knew
And
that.
he has terrific chemistry with the Oscar-winning Emma Stone, who in my opinion, I think she should deserves one of these lists, one of these months.
Well, funnily enough, she does happen to be starring in a movie that's coming out next month.
I think she's maybe overdue for this. I think we're gonna do another woman.
I think we're gonna have to do another woman in the year of 2024.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
You know,
indeed. Yeah,
but La La Land is my 10 because I just want to say the story. We went to see this together.
Yes,
right?
yes, we did.
You don't like that movie, right?
No. So, well, in fairness, I have not seen it since it came out, but still to this day, yes,
Yeah,
I do not like that movie.
I also never saw it. I haven't rewatched it, but I definitely remember what I liked about it. I hated the beginning of that movie.
Awful. We both
hated
because we both walked in, we missed like we saw the opening scene, but we missed like the opening credits. And so we walked in, they were in the middle of the musical number on the middle of the highway in LA. And we're like, what the hell is going on? Like, it was just so off-putting and startling. And that's before we even get to Gosling.
We saw it.
Yeah.
It's fine. And we saw enough of it. And I was just like, this is retarded. And I rewatched the scene on YouTube. And I was like, yeah, I still don't like this. But like, the movie's charming. It's not Damien Chazelle's best, but it proves that Ryan Gosling can lead like an old-fashioned, like 50s style movie like this, even though it was set in the modern day. But I like the aesthetics of the movie. I like the movie more than you, but I don't think he should have been nominated for Best Actor that year per se.
Not for this.
He has a better performance that year that we'll get to later in the list. But La La Land, good fucking performance, really funny. I love the scene where he's trying to get her back out of her house, like when she goes back home, and he just screams out of nowhere. That got a huge laugh out of me. But like, great performance, proves his range.
The big thing I remember about that movie is I think that was the only time where it felt like the great actor wasn't showing through and he was trying too hard to be a star. And like, I just didn't really get what his character was. It's like, okay, he likes jazz. He's talking about how much he likes jazz, and that was it. That was literally it. Like, it would kind of all revolve around Emma Stone.
Like, he's such a heartthrobby kind of performance in it, and he's so like he knows how to fit that kind of mold. And I just feel like he does it like extremely well. Oscar worthy, no, but it proves that he's a star. For
me, it doesn't really hit until the end with that final montage leading up to that final scene. That's where it really clicked for me. But like I said, I haven't seen the movie in 8 years, so I have to rewatch it.
That's when the movie kind of like falters, where it's like, I don't like the cynical ending where it's just like, oh yeah, she won't succeed unless she's not with him. It's like, okay, movie, all right, relax.
And marries Tom Everett Scott, of all people.
Yay.
Yeah. All right, my number 10. This is going to shock you and possibly anger you. My number 10, I watched it this morning. No, not quite. My number 10 is Place Beyond the Pines. And I will explain why. So I watched this movie this morning. This is one of 2 movies that are on this list that I watched today. I watched this one this morning. Blown away by it. Easily the best that Derek Cianfrance ever directed, which is not saying much considering that I am not a fan of a majority of the stuff that he's done. Although I know this much is true, but that was a miniseries. This movie, on the other hand, I think it's interesting that you say that you just watched Amores Perros recently, because this, to me, was, I'm like, oh, this is his rendition of Amores Perros. It's 3 interconnected stories, one of which they kind of all build into the next one, right?
I guess, yeah, that's a good comparison. I guess.
Well, I just
that's a little more disconnected than this.
Well, that is more disconnected, but the 3 do still interconnect. But this one, it's much.
These are way more connected.
It's more linear in the sense of how each storyline builds into the next one, But I would say, for me, obviously, of the 3 storylines, Gosling probably has, weirdly enough, my second favorite of the storylines. My absolute favorite is the Dane DeHaan Emery Cohen one at the end. That's still
I don't mind.
The top of that. But Gosling is so effing good in this movie. It's just. He comes in, right? He's smoking the cigarette. He's got the tattoos, right? And he's immediately it's everything we love about Gosling. He's the heartthrob mixed with the badass, mixed with the sad boy. There's something that I notice about a lot of Gosling's performances, which is that with the exception of, I would say, a couple on this list, he is at his best when he is longing for something that he can't have. Whatever the reason is, it doesn't matter, but it's different every time. But I saw it in this. I saw it in Drive. To a certain extent, it's there in Lars and the Real Girl. It's all over The Notebook. Literally, it's the Fall Guy. It's literally the entirety of his arc in Barbie, even though that one's a lot more comedic. But I find that is the key trait that it is that we love about Gosling, is because we love Gosling so much as a person and as an actor. that we
crazy.
want.
Honestly, most of the Drive.
It's literally the entirety of the arc in Drive.
It's most of these movies.
It's literally most of these movies.
You could argue Big Short, like,
yes,
maybe. Yeah,
exactly. And the whole thing is that, like,
maybe he realizes this and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Which I find is something that a lot of great movie stars and actors have. And, like, it's just, it is so sad, the tragic arc that he goes through in only an hour of screen time in this movie, because he's only in the first hour before he dies unceremoniously. Spoilers if you haven't seen this movie. It's over 10 years old. I would hope you've seen it. But yeah, like, and oh man. And also, like, probably some of, like, the most harshest and, like, real to life solo bank robbery scenes. Because, like, bank robberies in movies, they're always cool. Like, they always try to make them look cool. But this one, it's like, it's just taking away all the coolness. It's like, nah, this is just done out of pure desperation.
It's an interesting, I like the montagey parts, but when it gets like to him, like, look at the fucking
like he's screaming, like the high pitched thing. I wasn't
really
expecting that. It's probably the only time that I've ever seen an actor pull off that really high of a pitch and have it be still threatening at the same time, you know? And, like, oh man, it's just, by the time that he leaves this movie, unfortunately, you can just tell that he is just broken beyond relief. And it really shows just how much of an impact that he has, that he is not in the entirety of this movie and still has such a meaningful impact. You know, if anything, the only reason why this is number 10 is because I wanted more of him, but obviously for the purposes of the story, he couldn't. But that being said, I
don't agree, but it's a good tie-in, because another movie that ties in to what you're saying about him, like, you could see the longing in his eyes and in his face. Blue Valentine, directed by Derek and Friends. So that ties in well.
It does, doesn't it?
I don't have much to say about it. It's not a movie. That's definitely not a rewatchable movie, but it is an excellent film.
So we won't be seeing that at the rewatchables, although by their current logic, we might see it on the rewatchables.
Yeah, we might, honestly. It's not a movie I would protest to rewatch. I've seen it a couple of times, but not in a very long time. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, it's a very well acted movie. It's one of his most raw, if not his most raw performance. It might be his most raw performance. You really get to see, like, the ugly side of him on the outside. It's weird to see him in a bald cap, but it works in this movie. And seeing France, I disagree with you. I think he's a terrific humanist filmmaker, and I think, like, the miniseries was terrific with Ruffalo. His two films are terrific. I want him to come back. I can't wait for that Channing Tatum movie, if that even happens, about Roofman. You hear about that, Roofman?
I think you told me about this. I think you told me about this.
It's about a criminal. It's a true story about a criminal who, like, hid in, like, Toys R Us's, but stole, like.
You have told me about this.
But, like, I don't know if he was like a roof guy, but, like, he, like, broke into McDonald's and like put the employees in the freezer and robbed them, and, like, slept in, like, a Walmart or a Kmart or Toys R Us or something. It's something goofy, and it's going to be Channing Tatum, and that would be
cool.
Channing Tatum really is, like, sneakily becoming one of the more impressive actors of his generation, and he's proving all the haters wrong from years ago.
There you go.
I know it's kind of off topic. I don't care, but seeing France, great, well directed, one of the most depressing movies ever made. Blue Valentine. I mean, let's
that is what he specializes in. That is indeed what he specializes in.
Yeah, but it's way more bleak than Place Beyond the Pines. I mean, like, Blue Valentine is just fucking bleak. Okay, even though it has blue, my favorite color, in it, but that means sad. All right, moving on to your number 9.
All right, my number 9. Yeah, Blue Valentine, one of the ones I was unable to watch and squeeze in between my very busy schedule. My number 9, Barbie. Yeah, it's crazy. One of my least favorite, if not my least favorite movie of last year, purely because, again, of the hype. I'm telling you guys, if you want to ruin a movie for me, just make it the most overhyped and most watched movie of the year, because that's 2 years in a row where, like,
it was overhyped, but it wasn't, like, awful.
The movie sucked. The feminist rhetoric is kind of what destroyed it. And the irony being that of all the bullshit that I had to sit through with this movie, the best part about this is Ryan Gosling. So much so that his performance of Ken was the only one that got nominated at the Oscars for performance. I'm wrong. I'm already wrong. America Ferrera got nominated because of the fucking speech. But the point is that I really don't know if that was Greta Gerwig's intention to make the Barbie movie unintentionally about Ken. But whatever the case is, like, the minute that he comes on screen and is talking about, like, what is it? I work the beach or something like that. He's like, I'm not a lifeguard. I just am beach. The minute that he says that, I'm like, oh, he's the best part about this movie. Easily. Like, understands the assignment from minute one.
My job is beach.
My job is beach. That's the one. That's the one. Yeah. Where again, like all the bits with going to the real world, interacting with the patriarchy. And again, yet another element why this movie sucks. The real world is more cartoony than the Barbie world. More on that in a little bit. Yeah, just everything about him is works. He's the best part about this movie. He's the only watchable part about this movie. Literally, again, he's got this power rock ballad that steals the entire movie and the entire Oscars with the "I'm Just Ken" number. I mean, this is truly the definition of an iconic performance. Also, his big screen comeback. I know he had The Gray Man the year before, but after taking a couple years off in order to, just be a dad for his kids during COVID, comes back to the theaters in possibly the biggest way yet. I mean, come on. We are truly feeling the Kenergy in this podcast. We really are.
Okay. I'll say my opinion. Number 8, new release, The Fall Guy.
Yes.
Directed by David Leitch. Yeah, this is another reason why like movies are failing now, because this should have been a hit at the very least, because it is a fun movie. It's not as good as it should have been, in my opinion. I know you loved it, but Ryan Gosling definitely is the reason why you should see it. He carries the entire thing. He's so charming. This is a movie where it's like, yeah, if Ryan Reynolds was in it, it'd probably be pretty good, but at least with Ryan Gosling, it's unique. You know what I mean? So and he has terrific chemistry with Emily Blunt, which really carries the movie for me. And he has the whole cast is good. It's just that they're not as well utilized or as well thought out as Ryan Gosling's character, who's really lovable from the moment he shows up in the movie. But like this moment you see him, his beautiful face, Ryan Gosling's beautiful. But yeah, he's the funniest moment to me in the beginning that got me with the character is when that guy comes up and recognizes him, and he's like, "Man, I can't believe you're dead." Yeah, he's like, "I kind of wish I was right now." And that's one of the funniest moments of the year for me. Like, he has a lot of great moments like that throughout the movie.
So many one-liners in this movie that
There's a lot of weird plot holes and weird things that if you think about it too much, your brain will break, like the Miami Vice job. Like, how old is
thinking about that.
So
I'm
weird.
still thinking about that. Like,
what is that supposed to mean?
What was he, like 8 years old when he booked that job? More on that later.
It's not supposed to be set in like the 2000s or the 2010s even.
Right.
Like it's supposed to be now, because like the deep fake technology is like a big plot point in the movie.
Right.
But like, you know,
unless the character's supposed to be a lot older than we think, because Gosling's only 45.
No, he's not even that old. Yeah, and he looks younger than that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
maybe on the red carpet he looks like he got some fillers in him, but like on movies he looks fine.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
So yeah, well, but more on that later.
Good performance, good movie. It's weird that do you know this was based off a television show?
Yes, I did know that.
Yeah, but like prior, like, did you know of the
show?
I
found out about it like right before I saw the movie.
I was gonna say, it's not like you knew about the show.
Oh hell no! Oh, absolutely not. Nobody did. Come on.
What an obscure show. Like the Spencer Confidential movie too was also based off a show. Like,
okay, that I didn't know about.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Why are they making these?
They're trying to, well, I mean, that's pretty obvious. They're trying to copy the Mission Impossible format, because like, how many people knew that Mission Impossible was a TV show if not for like, you know, the movies being as big as they were?
Yeah, they're going to make like a Cagney and Lacey, like gritty reboot.
Probably.
Like 5 years with
I'm surprised I'm surprised they haven't tried to do it with Bosom Buddies yet with Tom Hanks. I'm surprised. Listen. Oh, trust me, in today's day and age, they would find a way.
They did actually try, off topic, but real quick. They tried doing that. ABC had like a fucking sitcom with the guy from the Benchwarmers, where like it was like two Latino guys tried like dressing up as women for a job, and that was like, it was on for like 2 episodes. I forget what it was called, but that was a thing.
Yeah, I can't imagine that would have lasted very long.
No.
All right, moving on to my number 8, another one that I just saw today, Lars and the Real Girl. Yeah, one that I went in with, you know, certain tempered expectations for, just given the premise, and then ended up completely loving. Like, this is just a movie that really should not work at all, just based off of the fact that it's about a dude that falls in love with a doll, like a sex doll, and treats her like a real person. And it is purely due to like just the loving care with which this script is written, and the fact that they could so easily turn this into a mean-spirited mess, and the fact that it is so calm, it is so collective. Gosling in this movie is playing completely against type. He's not smirking, he's not winking, he's not a heartthrob. He's not even a particularly attractive person, playing this isolated weirdo loner who really, you know, doesn't have any, if not for the fact that if he lived anywhere else would probably be like a serial killer, but because he is in this town surrounded by seemingly like this group of people that's like almost trapped in time, essentially. That's probably the best way that I can describe it. And everyone kind of just like supports each other and nurtures each other to the point where, like, when he does finally purchase this doll, it really is a testament to the rest of the script and the rest of the cast that they don't immediately like shun him from society and instead are like recognize this as like a cry for help, but like they understand that he's like cognizant enough that he needs to kind of work through whatever his struggles are on his own. And then and the fact that he is able to have that arc, that full 3-dimensional arc of like, treating the doll, whose name is Bianca, as a real person, and everybody kind of just going along with it, and literally to the point where eventually he lets her go by her dying in his mind. I really think Patricia Clarkson should have been nominated for an Oscar. He absolutely should have been nominated. It's the most unique and against type that I've ever seen him, and I don't know if I ever will see another performance like this from him again. So this had to make the list. Lars and the Real Girl.
Lars and the Real Girl is too creepy for me. I love the director Craig Gillespie because of I, Tonya. He definitely has a varied filmography, but the movie didn't work as a whole. But Ryan Gosling's very good in it. He plays like a ruggedly handsome guy, but with a lot of mental issues. And I just feel like the movie just didn't let him breathe or explode to the full extent. Maybe that wasn't the point, but I just didn't vibe with the movie. My number 7. And by the way, no, he didn't deserve a nomination. 2007 was stacked that year.
Yeah, 2007 was stacked. But Tommy Lee Jones for In the Valley of Elah, whatever that movie is, and everybody thinks that he got nominated for No Country for Old Men. He was not.
No, he's not better. Ryan's not better than Jonah and Superbad. All right, or John C. Reilly and Walk Hard. And who was nominated for Golden Globe?
I'll give you those two.
Half Nelson is my number 7. Half Nelson is his first Oscar nomination. It's, I believe it's the debut of Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden.
Yep, I believe it is.
Yeah, very, very powerful movie. Kevin Smith famously guest reviewed on Siskel and Ebert. Not Siskel, Ebert and Roper, opposite Roper, and he like raved about this movie. And Ryan Gosling got nominated for an Oscar that year, which is really impressive over Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right.
We know.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
We all know what happened there.
Yeah, but there's another example I'm forgetting. Oh, Sacha Baron Cohen. He got in over Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever. Ryan Gosling's and Greg Kinnear. But Ryan Gosling's fantastic in this movie, and it really was his breakout after The Notebook, especially, I would say, where it's like people finally were taking him seriously. He's not just like a teen bopper, put him a poster on the wall and pretend he's your boyfriend. Like, no, he's a fucking serious actor. He's like Leo for the new generation, maybe in that realm, or maybe Brad Pitt, maybe a combo of both. Or maybe he's his own thing, Dominic.
Maybe he is.
But he plays like a fucking like crack addicted teacher in this, but he's so charming and nice, and he's like a basketball coach. And Sharika Epps, who like disappeared from the earth.
Yeah, right. What happened to her?
I don't know, but she won the Spirit Award for it for lead actress, and she like disappeared. And like I don't know, maybe she was in a couple other things, but like she's not in anything the last 4 to 7 years, I think, maybe even longer. But really raw movie. He's terrific. Anthony Mackie is also fantastic, and this is another movie where he was finally starting to get like good roles. Yeah,
there's so many movies throughout the 2000s where I'm like, Anthony Mackie just pops up and he's just great in it. I'm like, how many movies was he in before? But it was Hurt Locker Reel that he like really finally broke out, right?
For sure, I would say. Like, and he was kind of snubbed that year. He arguably deserved the nomination.
He was really good in that.
Christopher Plummer for The Last Station, right? And Stanley Tucci for The Lovely Boner.
One of these days, we're gonna have to go through the Oscars like category by category, year by year since 2000.
I don't even want to.
Stinkers.
We've done that enough on.
There's some stinkers in there, to say the least. Just wanted to give a shout out to Karn popping in the chat. First Man was forgettable at best. It was fine.
We didn't even talk about that.
I don't know.
I never even saw it.
I'm weird on that movie. It's so
what do you think
weird.
Of that?
It's so weird and cerebral, that movie. Like, this is a movie about landing on the moon, and we spend the whole movie inside Neil Armstrong's head, like as he's watching all the astronauts die around him. Like, what? Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, that's literally the whole movie. And it's like,
no one died though, right?
Well, it's like all the early like Apollo missions, like all the test missions where like people died on that,
Okay.
And I'm like, bro, of all the things that we want to, I'm sorry, I couldn't care less about seeing Neil Armstrong in this land. I want to see Neil Armstrong, just going to the moon and shit like that. For All Mankind gave us a better fucking Neil Armstrong thing than Damien Chazelle did, and that wasn't even fucking accurate to history. That was an alternative history thing. So
I really had no interest in seeing this movie at all.
It was kind of just a waste of time, honestly. It was the epitome of failed Oscar.
Yeah, it looked like a thankless role for Gosling.
Yeah, it was. It did not service him well, I thought.
It couldn't get Claire for the nomination.
No, it did not. No, it did not. And everyone was banking that she was going to get nominated, and she lost out to what? The Marina di Tavira for Roma. Indeed. All right, my number 7. The last possible fucking movie that I thought I was going to remotely like, let alone would be on this list.
Really?
The Notebook. Yeah.
Ooh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's high.
Yeah, it's very high. It is very high.
What the fuck?
I am going to, I'm still, dude, my head is still spinning from this. Here's the thing about this movie, right? It's got an absolutely absurd narration device, especially with how it ends. Like the shit with James Garner and Gina Rowland at the end, where like it's revealed that like it's older than, which is not even a twist. They tell you it halfway through the movie.
Why would that be? I feel like I knew that.
Yeah, that's not a twist. And the movie is trying to like play it up like it's these two completely different people at the end. Before halfway through, you're like, oh,
that would be irrelevant.
Also, Dustin, and again, because we love talking about this. Who directed this movie?
Nikki Cass.
Exactly. And who is Nikki Cass's mother?
Johnny Cass. Oh, Gina Rowland.
Rowlands. Yeah.
But he's Nick Cassavetes is John Cassavetes' son, and he has the weirdest filmography, maybe. One of them.
Yes, for sure. And yeah, this is a movie that by no rights should have not should have worked, but by no rights should I have enjoyed as much as I did. And man, the charm of Gosling and McAdams, man. Also, McAdams, like the 04 breakout for her with this and Mean Girls. Like, I don't know what's been going on with these movies that are hitting 20 years this year.
She's prettier in this movie, probably.
Oh, yeah.
She doesn't have to wear a wig in this.
Oh, yeah. But, what's it called? But, yeah, I love this movie. I absolutely love this movie. It got to me. It freaking got to me. It has all the tropes in the world of like, rich girl, working class dude, but they're so hot for each other that nothing can break them apart except for when he has to go off to war and her rich parents look down on him because he's too dirty and grubby for them. And then she goes off, meets someone else. Bro, I am not kidding when I say this actually happens in the movie. He wrote her one letter a day for 365 days in a row. And her mother, played by Joan Allen, kept them all from her. So she ends up becoming a nurse during World War II and ends up getting with James Marsden. And get this, right? James Marsden isn't an asshole. He's like a genuinely nice guy. But because Gosling's still there.
Like in Superman, yeah.
Exactly, but because Gosling's still there, you're like, oh, so she's eventually going to go back to him. Kevin Connolly is in this.
I was going to ask
about Shepard is in this. Kevin Connolly, it's fine. It's the year that Entourage debuted, so he was flying high. He's E. Kevin Connolly's not
exactly known for having... playing E in the movie?
Oh, yeah, no. He's playing exactly E if he was in, like, World War II,
What?
It's not. But I mean, he's fine. He serves his part well. He's the best friend character who unfortunately dies halfway through. Just like kind of really unceremoniously. They kind of fuck him over hardcore in this movie. This is a wild movie to say the least, but I absolutely loved it.
Eventually,
all the tropes are great. And like I said,
the performance is really this good.
The performances are this good. There is just something about just how charming these two are and how good these two are together that really makes this movie.
Movie that truly made him a star, in your opinion?
No. It made him a heartthrob. It did not make him a star, I would say. I would say it was still the 2011 trifecta. That's what made him a star, for sure.
Okay. Right.
But yeah, number 7, The Notebook.
All right, let's talk about a man's man movie. And we're talking about the Place Beyond the Pines.
The Place Beyond the Pines, yes.
This movie rules, okay?
It was pretty fucking good. It was pretty fucking good.
It's like Babel set in upstate New York. It's like awesome. Literally. It's awesome. This movie's depressing and bleak also, but it's not as bleak. It's more relatable because it has like a litany of different tales. It like kind of like is like told like the characters itself, like they kind of like age down as like they, you know what I mean? Like, like Ryan Gosling is like, his story is so captivating in the first act, I would say. And Like it might not be the best part of the movie, but it's the most compelling.
It's one of the most compelling, dude. Like, it makes you miss him. Like, dude, how crazy is it that Ryan Gosling is so good in this movie that he almost makes the solo Bradley Cooper section in the middle kind of mediocre by comparison? And that's not a bad section either. That's got Ray Liotta as a corrupt cop. Like, what more could you want?
I mean, I agree with you with your faults on that middle section a little bit, where it's like it's definitely the most generic, but it builds a little bit more character. It's a little longer than it needs to be, but the third act really does pay off. And like,
oh yeah,
and Emery Cohen is like playing like my friend Travis too. Like, it's weird. It's like it's fucking odd. It's scary actually. But Emery Cohen, I can't wait for Rebel Ridge. I think that's coming out.
Oh God, please, can this be coming out this year, this movie?
But Ryan Gosling is so great in this movie. His chemistry with the gorgeous Ava Mendes, one of the great.
This is the movie that got them together. This is the movie that got them together.
It's beautiful. That's beautiful. But Mahershala Ali, it was my introduction to him. It's my introduction to Emery Cohen. Dane DeHaan was excellent in this movie. I love Ryan Gosling's chemistry and friendship with Ben
Mendelsohn. Yes,
he's also excellent in this. And he's just great. You know what I mean? Like, and he doesn't use his accent in this movie. I don't think.
No, he does not.
No, he's terrific. Yeah, like I tell you, he can do that really well.
Yes, he can.
But I love this movie. I love the vibe of it. I think the ending is like a little too like ambiguous, but it's cool. It's like a little arty in my opinion. It kind of reminds me of Paris, Texas. Now that I've seen Paris, Texas, but like. Yeah, it's still a terrific movie. It's one of the better movies in his filmography and definitely one of his better performances.
Only thing I'll say about the ending is I didn't find it ambiguous because to me that was like, oh, the spirit of his father has been reborn in him. You know how he like effortlessly rides the bike away. Yeah.
It's so symbolic.
It is. It's symbolic, Dustin. It's symbolic. It's a metaphor, man.
No, I'm just doing Barry Keoghan and Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Oh, okay.
Symbolic.
All right, moving on. My number 6. Now we're getting into it. The Fall Guy. I fucking love this movie. I absolutely love this movie. I know that obviously, I have to preface by saying this. It is not a better movie than Tropic Thunder. Nothing will ever top Tropic Thunder in that sense. But this movie is the Tropic Thunder of the 2020s in the sense of where it is just full on lambasting Hollywood, putting it like up on a pedestal and then kicking the pedestal out from under it. It's fucking great, this movie. And it automatically, when I saw this movie, I was kind of mad that Dune 2 got pushed to this year, because if not for Dune 2 being this year, this movie would have been my number 1 for sure. Like, this movie just has everything that I could possibly love. Like, from the minute it starts with the voiceover narration to the inside, behind this, insider baseball of Hollywood with all the stunt team, you could tell that David Leitch loves, just absolutely has adoration for his former career as a stuntman. But Gosling, man. Oh, man. Like, I knew I was going to love this just with his one-liners alone when he's fighting with Teresa Palmer in the apartment. And then he's like, is this a prop sword? And then he explains, like, the backstory, like, why he always wears the Miami Vice jacket. And then when he literally spits fire in this. How many dudes do you know that could literally say they spat fire in a movie? And it's also, you're right. So it's funny that you mentioned the other Ryan Reynolds on this, right? The reason why this would not have worked at all if this was Reynolds is because Reynolds would have been cracking one-liners and winking at the camera every second. And that works for Deadpool. That doesn't work for something like this. For something like this, you need a straight man because a straight man is what's going to sell the humor and make it even funnier. When you literally have a scene where Gosling and Emily Blunt are talking all over the phone, where she is talking about potentially wanting to use a split screen in the fake movie that she's making in the movie, and the movie cuts to a split screen, and they may as well be talking to the camera, but they aren't, because that's how committed they are to the bit. It's shit like that makes me fall in love with movies like this, and maybe overlook some of the more ludicrous plot elements, because yes, you're right, this is a ludicrous plot. This should not make sense, but if anything, it's almost kind of in tune with the movie itself, because movies like this, especially in the 2020s, always have ludicrous, harebrained plots that make absolutely no sense. So, also, we get Aaron Taylor-Johnson doing a Matthew McConaughey impression, which was absolutely hilarious. So, yeah.
And he should have been the cameo at the end.
Yes, I agree. I understand the Jason Momoa bit, but it would have been funnier if it would have been McConaughey. But Gosling, after seeing this movie, I'm like, oh, Gosling is the Leslie Nielsen of this movie essentially, and like kind of the modern day Leslie Nielsen. And the irony be that even though I know he didn't do his own stunts, and the fact that he was like, you know, given
he's more Bruce Willis in this,
but the whole of this movie was dedicated to like the art of stuntsmanship in Hollywood. Like I absolutely loved it. This had to go on the list easily.
Yeah, and a quick you know, thing is like I do enjoy Ryan Gosling. Ryan Reynolds though, like, could potentially like get one of these lists, one of these.
Oh, he will.
Years.
He will.
Maybe though. That's the thing. Like I don't know if he's done like enough. Like he needs to work with better directors. He needs to stop doing like a variation of his. He's done that his whole career since Van Wilder, where it's just like, yeah, there's only so much now. Like, how many more generic movies are you gonna do? You got to be in good movies, Ryan. You can't just keep phoning in, this cool personality that you have. It's feeling fake now. He's starting to like go into the Will Smith area almost that I'm fearing. But like, I do love Ryan Reynolds. He is a charming actor, and I do usually like it. It's not that I hate him in some of these shitty movies. You know what I mean? It's usually the movies that suck, and I just feel bad for him. But like, he deserves a career like Ryan Gosling, but I just don't understand.
I don't know. Looking over his list, he's got a lot of interesting and off the beaten path movies that a lot of people don't think
earlier in his career.
But both later. But you still have The Voices. You still have Mississippi Grind.
Yeah, but that was before Deadpool.
Oh, you're talking all pre-Deadpool.
Like pre-Deadpool, like people, like he was really trying to be like a seriously taken actor.
Yeah,
but he really wanted Deadpool that badly.
Yeah, he wanted.
He's
Deadpool
just been
really
riding that
badly.
train,
and
he's been. It's like bled into his personality, sadly. But I don't hate him with a vitriol like so many weird people online do. But I still have hope that he's going to turn his career around after he's done with Deadpool. You know what I mean?
Let's hope.
But my number 5 is Barbie.
Wow, that's high.
No, it's not. It's not, Dominic, because he was Oscar nominated. He stole the whole fucking movie. As great and as magnetic and charming as Margot Robbie is, that's Ryan Gosling's movie.
Oh yeah,
he steals the entire fucking movie, like you said.
Without question,
every scene there isn't a scene he's in where I'm not like at least once like going, like I couldn't. Not with him. Like he's like he gets every beat of this character. It's a thin character that he makes so special and fleshed out in a weird serendipitous way. Yeah. It's like it's so beautiful. I don't love the third act like you do too. Like I don't like the third act as much because it's like such a weird message to throw in, and then they put the Billie Eilish song, and so it's like none of it makes sense.
The whole movie doesn't make sense.
Like the Fall Guy
shit makes sense.
Like I get it's a fantasy, but like the Fall Guy, you're saying it doesn't make sense. This makes even less sense. But he really is the heart and soul, and just like he's great in this. And even the scenes where he's supposed to be sort of antagonistic at points, like he sells those moments. But he like even in an airheaded way. You feel bad for him
because you're like, yeah, he's kind of justified. He's kind of been fucked over every minute since his existence. So,
and not only did he deserve the nomination, he deserved to win the Oscar this year, in my opinion. Like, out of the nominees, he deserved it over Robert Downey Jr. More people were talking about and more enthusiastic about that performance than they were Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
But they just feel like Robert Downey Jr. has had more.
Downey was the legacy choice.
Downey was the legacy choice. It's not his best performance that he was nominated for, Tropic Thunder. Like, yes, like, I'm telling you, it's the legacy Oscar, and of course,
in hindsight, it really sucks that he had Tropic Thunder the same year as Dark Knight.
I know he's already had his comeback, Robert Downey Jr., but it was the perfect bow on top. Where it's like he finally wins his Oscar after playing Iron Man after all these years, after succumbing the drug, the drug and crime shit. Like he gets back, gets the Iron Man comeback role after Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is probably still the best movie he's ever made. But like, yes. That he won the Oscar because of that. Ryan Gosling deserved it. Everyone was talking about it. He should. By the time he was so good during that Oscars telecast with performing that song with Slash,
stole the whole show.
I really thought for a second they were going to give it to him.
Yeah. Yeah, you could have almost convinced me. I mean, the fact that he did win original song at the very least was crazy. Like that was embarrassing, honestly. Like he knocked the whole house out. Like that was the reason why everybody tuned into the Oscars.
I know he didn't win at that point, but like I bet they regretted like how didn't he win? We should have given it to him.
Right.
It's like I know Ryan Gosling doesn't have a heroin problem like Robert Downey Jr., but he was better than him and whatever.
Oh man. Anyway.
Oppenheimer's the better movie though.
Yeah, Oppenheimer is the better movie. All right, my number 5, Half Nelson. You already talked about it. Yeah, I watched this movie a couple weekends ago. Yeah, this movie's phenomenal. Honestly, like just phenomenal. Just completely gritty, visceral. I mean, obviously this is another movie that's like filmed in Brooklyn, so I'm like recognizing a lot of the stops where it takes place kind of very similar to when I watched Squid and the Whale, which is also filmed. I believe that Squid and the Whale and this are filmed around like similar areas that are close to each other, if not a couple stops away. So that was really interesting. And like seeing him just as like, again, it's so fascinating watching this type of a performance of a dude who's like just kind of giving up on life, but is still kind of just going through the motions of it, you know? And that's a really fascinating thing to get. And it's not something that many people really can. But when they nail it, oh man, there's just something that feels so genuine and real to life about it. Like that moment.
I'm sorry, where was this set?
In Brooklyn?
It was set in Brooklyn.
Yeah, this is Brooklyn.
I thought it was Long Island.
Oh, no, this is Brooklyn. This is 100% Brooklyn.
Yeah,
I recognize a ton of those locations. Like, for example,
right. Okay.
the scene where he goes to confront Mackie about trying to stay away from what's her name, the little girl, the actress?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's great because, like, it's just him realizing, like, oh, he's just as full of shit as everybody else is, you know? But, like, he's finally coming to that revelation that, like, he's kind of known the whole time. But now he's just like, yeah, like this is me. I'm full of shit. Like from the moment that like the one girl catches him in the bathroom just passed out, he's just somebody who is just
freebasing.
Just going through the motion. And he just, man, he nails it. He just absolutely nails it, you know?
Great.
And again, not a good guy either, you know, kind of forces himself onto his one coworker that he's got like kind of the on and off relationship with. Also, I love these movies that can feel just so down to earth in real life where I'm like, I don't feel like I'm watching actors. I feel like I'm watching real people. And it's so weird, especially seeing like how big of a star and a presence he's become. You know, we just talked about Barbie and Fall Guy, these big, larger than life movies. And it's so strange just watching him like play just a regular everyday dude. Like I've passed guys like that on the street walking to my subway stop. You know, I've definitely interacted with people like that without even realizing or with realizing it, you know, because like those types of drug problems make themselves pretty obvious, you know, and the fact that he is able to make it that genuine and that real to life, like, yeah, it had to be on this list. Half Nelson. It's his first Oscar nomination ever, you know? Half Nelson. Number 5.
But he didn't deserve to win that year though.
No, we all know who deserved to win though.
Yeah, out of those nominees, probably Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Number 4, The Nice Guys.
Ooh.
I know. Is this controversial? I'll explain why with my other 3 picks, but yeah.
We have the same top 4, so.
Him opposite Russell Crowe. Terrific. Just a great pairing. Shane Black.
Yeah.
I might have, like, I do love this movie. I do think like I went into it with like too high expectations at the time because I adored the trailer and I fucking like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is one of my favorite movies of all time. So yeah, I don't think it really holds a candle to that as a whole, but for what it is, it's fantastic. It's a great period piece. Ryan Gosling is giving one of like probably his funniest like straight up comic performance where he's like really going for the physicality of it all, like the scene in the bathroom in the stall where he's like, you know, he drops the cigarette and he's like, that's perfect. It's like he has so many great one-liners. His chemistry with Russell Crowe is great, and Angry Rice is a terrific ensemble. He won the NIFA for Best Actor Comedy that year.
As he should have.
You know, and he won for Barbie this year, you know, for supporting. So he's a fantastic actor. And yeah, I don't have much to say about The Nice Guys that not a lot of other people have said. He's amazing in it.
I'll get to that more when it's on my list. I just wanted to shout out Karn, who also commented, people want a Nice Guys sequel, but Nice Guys does not need a sequel. I'm torn on that because obviously I want to see a Nice Guys sequel, but on the other hand,
I don't think it would be bad though.
It wouldn't be bad.
I don't think it would be. I don't think that's a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea, really. It's really not, especially since they kind of set themselves up for a sequel at the end. But
a little bit. A little bit.
I'm almost like with how shit most movies are now. I don't know if I would trust them to make just to capture how unique of a magic we had the first time with that first movie.
I don't know. It could be a better mystery. Like it's not like the mystery was anything amazing in the first movie, but it was really their chemistry that sold
I was about to say the mystery was kind of the least compelling part about the first movie, but the moments are so good. I'll get to that in a little bit when we get to Nice Guys on my list. My number 4, Crazy Stupid Love. A movie that I watched with my brother during COVID. He had already seen this movie. He's like, this movie's great. And I watch it. I'm like, yeah, this is great. And this was at a time where I still hated rom-coms and refused to watch them. And then I got into this and I'm like, this is Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, Julianne Moore, and Emma Stone. And that's not even getting into the rest of the ensemble and how good this cast is. I'm like, and at that time, I'd already seen kind of all these people in movies that I loved. And I realized how much I loved all these movies. I'm like, yeah, okay. I love this movie. I absolutely love this movie. The fact that the first 30, 40 minutes of this movie is Gosling and basically teaching Carell how to pick up women, basically being the Barney Stinson to Carell's Ted Mosby. And that's the first 30 to 40 minutes of this movie. And the fact that they have the Emma Stone, and I didn't realize this going into the movie, but the fact that they have Emma Stone as Carell's daughter, have that be a surprise at the end of the movie and have that be a twist, which I didn't know going in, is so ridiculous and should not have worked, but somehow it does.
But it worked in 20. Like, people that watch it now are like, what the fuck?
They're like, how did we not? But you know what it is? I think that's them compensating for the fact that it's like, wait, how did we not see this coming? I think that's what it is. The fact that they're mad that they didn't pick up on it. I'm like, maybe that's just because the writing's so good that the writing keeps those characters separated for long enough that you really wouldn't make the connection unless
even though they do foreshadow it. They do drop clues.
They do pretty heavily foreshadow it, yes. But again, this was the beginning of the Gosling Stone trilogy that was then continued with Gangster Squad and La La Land. Yeah, and the fact that those two are so good and have such insane chemistry together. The fact that they literally improv the Dirty Dancing moment based off of some shit that he literally would use to pick up girls in real life, which is phenomenal. I mean, come on, Dustin.
That's great.
You're always better with one-liners than me. What's the one-liner that he gives to Steve Carell when he's like, "Oh, did you shop at the about the sneakers and how he got them from the Gap?" What's the line that gives him? Yeah,
I forget. I haven't seen it in a while, but
but you know the line.
That's my number 3. That's my number 3.
Yeah.
You look like Steve Jobs.
Yeah, that's right. You look like Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
So my number 4, your number 3, Crazy Stupid Love.
No, I didn't even talk about it. Yeah,
I know.
Love it.
It's so good.
It's a great romantic comedy. Came out at the perfect time. Saw it with a packed crowd. That twist happened. The David Lindhagen scene, one of the best scenes in any comedy that year. Arguably the decade. Brought the house down. It's fucking hysterical. Ryan Gosling, that whole movie is just so like a breath of fresh air.
Yes.
You think he comes on, you think he's going to be this typical ladies' man, but he's more charming than maybe anybody you've seen since Paul Newman, maybe.
Probably.
He's so fucking charming in this fucking movie, where it's just like he might be playing a slime ball, but even if he is, I don't care.
Right.
Because he's so charming. And then by the time he befriends Steve Carell out of sympathy, it doesn't feel pathetic. It feels genuine.
Yes.
And they have a great, beautiful friendship that develops. He really helps Steve Carell. And he has a great chemistry with Emma Stone, obviously, in all these movies, even Gangster Squad to a certain extent, which is a mess. But Crazy Stupid Love is so funny and so heartfelt. And Ryan Gosling, who was Golden Globe nominated, I think.
Yes, he was.
Terrific. Just absolutely great. This is a star-making performance. This is the first performance I saw where I was like, yeah, this guy has the goods because he can nail drama. I knew that going in.
And he can nail Emma Stone, too.
And he can fucking just make me laugh. He was hysterical in this movie.
He's so good. He's so good in this movie. And again, I figured I was going to like this movie. I didn't realize how much I was going to love Crazy Stupid Love.
Really charming.
Oh, it's so good. All right. My number 3. Oh, you're really going to hate me with my placement. It was so tough. These top 3 are all neck and neck for me. My number 3, Dustin, you smell that? You smell that?
Oh, God.
You smell that? It smells like money. Big Short, number 3. I mean, in a cast with Christian Bale, Steve Carell, and Brad Pitt, he's the best part about this movie. He's the best part. Easily. The fact that he's to talk about one individual performance in this movie feels so like anticlimactic, considering that like the movie is the movie kind of based off of like the performers are kind of like all playing second fiddle to like kind of just the absurdity of how Adam McKay meticulously breaks down every single step of what led to the crash of 08. But Gosling is just as crucial a piece in that, and arguably I would say he's just as so like the way that I look at like kind of the four anchors in like the three different storylines is like, so you've got Bale is kind of like the brainiac of the group, right? Carell is like the humanist, right? He's the guy who's like, oh, he's the guy who like he's good at his job, but he actually cares about his employees. You know, Gosling is none of that. That's kind of what's insane about Gosling in this movie. Gosling doesn't give two shits about any of the regular people that are going to get fucked over by this pending crash. He's just trying to cash in and make as much money as he possibly can. The only reason why he goes to Carell and his guys, you know, also introducing us to a pre-succession Jeremy Strong as well, is that he's like, yeah, you guys are the only ones that actually like are smart enough to be able to probably outmaneuver this, you know, because you guys are going to do your due diligence. You're going to do all your checking, which you don't need to do, but I know you're going to do, you know, and just kind of like him kind of being like the god of this movie, essentially just being like the overarching voiceover narration, you know, where he's one of a couple people who are like narrating and being like, yeah, all these other fucking idiots that didn't see this coming, you know, but oh man, that's such a tightrope balancing act to pull, and he pulls it off based on charm alone. I mean, Bale getting the nomination for this, okay, that's cool, but like it still kills me that he didn't get nominated for this, because this was like, well, like I had already seen, because actually no, I'm wrong, because this was before Nice Guys. This was the first movie that I believe I saw of his in a theater when this came out, because I didn't see Place Beyond the Pines in theaters. I didn't see Drive or Crazy Stupid Love or any of the 2011 movies in theaters, and I don't think he was in a movie in 2014. So yeah, this was the first time that I saw him on the big screen in a theater, and wowzers, what an impact this had. I mean, holy shit. Just coming in like a fucking wrecking ball and completely owning it, high-fiving the girls at the gym after he gets Carell with the deal. Fucking the one dude who's like in the bathroom is like, not now. And he's like telling all the guys to get out of the bathroom, and he sees the one guy who was in there. He's like, well, you spied on it? You spied on me? Oh, he's the best. He's the absolute best in this movie. It was really, really difficult only putting this at number 3. It really, really was. All right, you're number 2.
Drive.
Wow. I mean,
Drive.
I understand why, but like this is like not one of my favorite movies. So yeah, go.
I mean, it's like one of mine. I love Drive. Drive's a phenomenal movie. I saw it in theaters. I snuck into it. It's great. Ryan Gosling, this is another one where it's like after Ides of March, after Crazy Stupid Love, he really proved that he could like. He's just a badass in this movie, and like he got like kind of shit on for like not speaking sometimes in some of his movies as much as like you'd expect him to. Like he got a lot of shit for that early on in his career, like when Drive came out. Like he's just like he barely talks in the movie. So what? He's fucking great in it. Yeah. Like he's so expressive. You feel every emotion he's going through.
Like, how about this to all those idiots? You know you can express yourself without talking, right?
I know. And like even when he did talk, they would make fun of his voice. And it was like, okay, whatever. He's like fucking amazing.
Talk about a movie where actions speak louder than words.
I know, and he's so badass the whole time. How do you hate this performance? Like, it's a great movie. Albert Brooks is insanely terrifying in it.
Oh my god!
Like
one of the scariest performances I've ever seen. Like one of the earliest times I remember like audibly like and cringing and like out of this like pure like my stomach was in knots with how violent this movie got.
One of the early, the violence is cool in it though. But Oscar Isaac is great in this too. Yeah, like it has a great cast.
Bryan Cranston, middle of the Breaking Bad run too.
I raved about this movie when it came out on my channel. You can watch my review back then with the watermark in it. But it's great. It's a great movie. I still adore it. I think it's great. I watched it last year again. Still holds up. Ryan Gosling is amazing in it, and he won the NIFA for it. So.
Yeah, I'll get to this when we get to my spot. My number 2, The Nice Guys. Oh my god, dude, I love this movie. I have such fond memories of this movie. Like I remember this was the weekend after Civil War came out in 2016. Captain America, not the shitty Alex Garland one. It's just so many fond memories. Just the minute that this movie starts with the voiceover narration and the flashback to like kind of old school Hollywood, and you know. Seeing Russell Crowe get to be a badass, kicking ass and taking names. And that's not even like setting us up for Gosling. The fact that like this movie now 8 years later is finally getting justified like the love that it should have gotten 8 years ago when it came out and flopped at the box office, which is a crime against humanity if you ask me. I love this movie. I absolutely love them from minute one. This is our introduction to Gosling in this movie. He wakes up in a full bathtub, fully clothed, and looks at a message that's scribbled on his hand or whatever that says, "You will never be happy," or something like that. And that's just the tip of the iceberg to the fucking squeal that he emits. And I didn't even know how it's possible for a male human to get a pitch that high, but he does it. And then to the drop of the cigarette in his pants, to hallucinating the bumblebee voiced by Hannibal Buress later on, to one of the all-time lines. You know how shitty I am when it comes to remembering movie one-liners. But this one line will forever stick in my brain. When they pull up to the party and Angry Rice is like, "But Dad, there's like whores here and stuff." And Ryan Gosling's like, "Sweetheart, how many times have I told you not to end sentences with end stuff? Just say, Dad, there are whores here." Like, to this day, never gonna forget that line, ever. To the fact where he literally goes for Russell Crowe's leg because he thought that he had the gun in his leg, but he dreamed it. And Russell Crowe's like, "You dreamed that, you fucking idiot." And then Angry Rice throws the coffee at the one chick, and he's like, "It was a really good effort, sweetie. Your head's in the right place." That's everything that he's doing in this movie.
When he calls Angry Rice's like friend's sister a slut.
It's the goofiest he has ever been, but like, he is smart. That's the genius of this movie, is that this movie makes you think that he is an absolute buffoon, but he's actually like really smart. He's just so down on his luck and just can't help himself. Literally to the point where by the end of it, he's kind of just literally going with the motion. Like, he's just done giving a fuck and still somehow survives everything. Like when he falls into the pool, like when he's breaking down, crying, when Keith David has Angry Rice at gunpoint, and it's all a ruse just so he can attack Keith David, and they both fall over the ledge, and he falls into the pool, and Keith David goes splat on the pavement, and he hallucinates the guy in the Richard Nixon mask in the pool. I love this movie so much. I can quote this entire movie like from start to finish. Oh man, it's just absolutely fantastic. It's great. I love him. His motions, his mannerisms, his facial expressions, everything is just purely. Also, one last moment. The only fucking realistic glass punching scene I've ever seen in a movie, where literally he has this whole bit plan where he's gonna wrap the thing up and break into the bar after he already tried to get in by making the fucking origami thing out of the paper dollar bill, slashes his wrist open, and then faints because from how much blood he caused, and then wakes up in the ambulance 2 minutes later. This movie's fucking phenomenal, and Gosling's great. He should have been nominated for the Oscar for this over La La Land. Enough said. All right, Dustin, you're number one. Talk about it. Why is The Big Short your number one for him?
Jared Venett is the coolest, best, funniest, like just cool. I love that character and I love that performance, and I think it's a travesty that people like overlooked that performance when it came to the awards race. We didn't. Niffa nominated him.
Yeah.
But he lost to Christian Bale, who we also nominated.
Okay.
Ryan Gosling is so good in this fucking movie. That scene where, like, the big scene with the Jenga blocks.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He points to his Asian assistant. He's like, "My quantitative, my math specialist."
Look at him. He doesn't even speak English. And then the dude talks to him, was like, "Actually, yeah, I do speak English. Jared just thinks it'll sell it more." I'm like, that. Also, laying the seeds for Succession. Like, there's a lot of Succession, like, kind of tonally influenced.
I'll give you a hint. His name is Yang. He won a national math competition in China.
And he's like, "Actually, I came in second in that competition."
Yeah, right. No, he sounds like Harvey Keitel in that thing. Like, he's so good. All of his scenes where he's like this, like he's a smooth talking. He knows exactly what to say to everybody.
Yes.
And even when, like, in the beginning, when he's like, and he admits, like, in that scene, like, "Yeah, I was laughed out of the room, but whatever. They don't know what the fuck I'm up to." It's like, and then I love that fourth wall break in the movie. He's like, "Yeah, I never said I was a hero of this story." Like,
yeah. As he's
like,
right, as he's cashing his $1 billion or however much he cleared from the default credit swap.
Yeah, it's like everything from him being agitated by his assistant during that scene, and like just all the scenes with him and where Jeremy Strong looks like he wants to like just skin him alive.
Yes,
it's like it's just brilliant work. And Ryan Gosling is like really the secret MVP of that movie. I know Christian Bale did a lot of weird, like he wore a glass eye in it. I don't know, but like he's Christian Bale. He cut out his own eye and put a glass eye in. I don't know, but the Ryan Gosling was still better and more like, no, he's fine. But like, yeah, he's amazing in this movie, and he's the reason I want to rewatch this movie every time I do, even though it is a perfect movie.
Yes. Well, again, I rewatch these clips every single time they pop up on YouTube. I still have yet to rewatch the whole movie, but it's so good. It's so fucking good. I love this movie. All right, my number one, Drive. This is one of those like formative movies, like when I was really starting to like watch movies around like college time, community, actually no, I'd gotten into Oswego by this point, so I was like 2021. I remember I watched this movie for the first time and I was just flabbergasted. I couldn't believe what I'd watched the first time. I'm like, I don't know how it's possible for something to be this good, but it is. And this is summer of 2018. The last time I thought, oh, movies just all suck now. Needless to say, we had yet to get into the 2020s, but I mean, yeah, just from the moment this starts with the with the opening highs, and then the score kicks in. And then like, I mean, I don't like to give Chris Stuckman a lot of credit, but man, he broke this movie down to a fucking T in one of the absolute best
he's obsessed with it.
Analyses of a movie ever. And it is just so on point, like to a T, where again, this is just, to me, this is my number one because this encapsulates everything. The thing that I always try to aim for with my number ones of all the actors that we've done so far on our Hall of Fame is I try to go for the role that best encapsulates who they are as a performer. And I think that this one does it for Gosling, because even though he doesn't have the goofy comedy here that we would later be known so well for, and he also doesn't have like the slick back charm and ease, he has like this grittiness to him. And he has this roughness to him. And I love movies that are about guys that, they used to make these types of movies all the time. Clint Eastwood and, Clint Eastwood specialized in these types of movies. The types of movies about the loner with the mysterious past that you definitely do not want to fuck with because he will make your life miserable if you do. And that's exactly what we get here. But he just injects it with just this rawness and this touchingness to it. Like I always talk about, like, that kiss in the elevator, that kiss in Terry Mulligan again, fucking like Stockman broke this down to a fucking T, because that's the last time that she's gonna see him as the hero before he shows her that no, I'm worse than these guys that are coming after us, And when he fucking stomps that dude's face into the bar, a scene that is so violent that you don't actually see it until you leave the elevator and you see what's left of his face. This dude is literally the devil incarnate, but he wants to have the human life. So he wants it. It's the thing that we talked about with Place Beyond the Pines at the beginning of this list. He wants that regular life so badly. But to quote the great Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator 2, I see now why you cry, but that it's something that I could never do. And I kind of missed the accent there, but I think you get my point. That's ultimately what his character wants. His character wants this normal life, and he almost has it so badly, but this life of crime that he has, been trying to leave behind, the first chance that he gets, and it gets taken away from him until he just drives off into the aimless nothingness. And I mean, the supporting cast around him, Albert Brooks, how the fuck did he not get nominated for this? Ron Perlman cracking the, big bad pussy mobile or something, whatever the ridiculous shit that he is. Bryan Cranston giving an absolutely heartbreaking performance as his mechanic right-hand man who cannot catch a break. You already mentioned Oscar Isaac. The only time that Christina Hendricks has ever been good in anything outside of Mad Men.
I disagree.
What's the one other time? And
good hacks.
Yeah. Wasn't a fan. I thought that character was too one note for me. And yeah, I mean, it's a perfect movie. It's a perfect movie. I know I throw that out a lot, but like when I think of just everything that a movie is, where it just sings with every frame and every minute works, it's this movie. Absolutely. Drive, number one. Had to be.
Yeah. Chris Stuckman broke that movie down so well, it broke his mind, and he made the worst short film I've ever seen.
Yep.
Julia is the worst. She was good in, you're right.
There you go.
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, listen, I'm usually wrong on this stuff, but not about Christina Hendricks.
All right. I'll give you that one.
Yeah, I mean, I
guess I don't mind her on TV, I guess.
Well, yeah, she's clearly a TV actress more than a movie actress, and I don't use that bar for a lot of people because the lines between TV and movie have become pretty flimsy and thin. But that's one where I'm like,
I don't think she got the right role yet. I don't think she has gotten.
I mean, she definitely She's 8 seasons of Mad Men. She nailed it on that. She's phenomenal on that show.
What I've seen of Mad Men, yeah.
Yes, she is fantastic on that.
She's terrific on it.
That's the only show that actually understands how to use her as a performer. Nothing else has been able to use her.
I'd say that for a lot of people on that show.
I agree.
But yeah, I think breaking it down.
I say Drive at 1, Big Short at 2, and then we do Nice Guys at 3. Yeah.
No, I would say Crazy Stupid Love at 3.
Crazy Stupid Love at 3.
Yeah.
All right.
It's the movie that proved he could do comedy.
All right. You're right. All right.
And he has the Golden Globe nomination.
All right. I'll give you that. So Crazy Stupid Love at 3 and Nice Guys at 4. All right. Half Nelson at 5.
Barbie.
All right. Barbie at 5 and then Half Nelson at 6.
There you go.
All right. All right, Half Nelson at 6, and then what does that leave? So for our combined choices,
Place Beyond the Pines at 7. Place Beyond the Pines at 7.
All right,
Fall Guy at 8. And then Blue Valentine.
And then my choice, I'm going with Lars and the Real Girl for mine.
So Blue Valentine at 9, Lars and the Real Girl at 10.
Sounds good. All right. And we have it. So without further ado, our combined Ryan Gosling Hall of Fame. Number 10, Lars and the Real Girl, directed by Craig Gillespie. Number 9, Blue Valentine, directed by Derek Cianfrance. Number 8, The Fall Guy, directed by David Leitch. Number 7, The Place Beyond the Pines, also directed by Derek Cianfrance. Number 6, Half Nelson, directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. Number 5, Barbie, directed by Greta Gerwig. Number 4, The Nice Guys, directed by Shane Black. Number 3, Crazy Stupid Love, directed by, gonna need your help on this one,
Glenn Ficarra and John Requa.
There we go. Number 2, The Big Short, directed by Adam McKay. And number 1, Drive, directed by Nicholas Winding Refn. We've done it again, people. Another Actors Hall of Fame in the books. Dustin, thank you once again so much. You are, as always, the best of the best when it comes to this stuff. So, Dustin, you want to do Emma Stone next month?
Maybe.
I'm telling you, she's got the movie. May as well.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I was checking. I don't really have that many movies that I need to catch up on her with. I think it's just The Rocker, House Bunny, The Croods, The Help, and I think like 1 or 2 others. But I've seen a decent majority of her stuff. So
I've seen pretty much everything.
Yeah. All right. So with that being said, people, that is it. That is another Actors Hall of Fame. Be sure to keep tuning in month by month basis for it. Like I said, other than the slight stumble that is April, we still have plans to put this up one installment every month of the year. Be sure to keep tuning in for all the new stuff that we have coming out on the Talkin' TV podcast. Like I said, we've got recap shows for Lost, The Boys, House of the Dragon, all set to come out. And I am working on a new movie, on a new series as well, along my first big ranking since my big MCU ranking back in 2020. It's going to be a fun one. Dustin, where can the good people follow you on the interwebs?
Follow me on YouTube, Mr. G Movie Reviews, and they can follow me on Letterboxd, Dustin Mason.
Yes, and you can follow me with everything going on across all platforms at Movie Nerd Reviews. Be sure to follow the official Talkin' TV podcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitch. This episode may or may not be available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts at some point if I have yet to decide if I deem it worthy. And as always, people, 12 seasons in a short film and watch more fucking movies. We'll see you guys next time.